Now, at this summit, Russia and China seems to have normalized ties. I'm saying they are not rivals, but partners. And it seems that this is targeted directly at the U.S. But let's get more on this now as we bring in our guest, who is a global affairs analyst, Nweke. He joins us from Brussels, Belgium. Good to have you join us.
Thank you, Precious, for having me.
So not only the two most populous countries, but China and Russia and India, rather, also have two of the largest economies in the world. We see that they are now normalizing ties after years of tension that includes a long-running border dispute. How significant is this?
Well, this is pretty significant for the two countries because now it sends a signal amid trade frictions which have been triggered by the U.S. Let's recall that the U.S. has imposed a 50% tariff on Indian goods, partly in response to India's oil dealings with Russia. Let's not forget this. Modi used, this summit to counterbalance that pressure by, warming ties with Beijing. Now, it also sends another signal that crafting a multipolar world. Xi of China seizes this platform to pitch, an alternative to the U.S.-centric global order. I mean, it shouldn't surprise anyone who has been, following, global developments that, China has been very much in the vanguard of, redrawing the new world order, pledging economic support, even loan aids and all of that to SEO countries. So the U.S. influence is under test. It is under test because this rapprochement highlights how U.S. protectionist policies risks pushing key partners like India towards closer alignment with China. So to that extent, it is indeed very, very significant.
And we see that countries like Russia, Iran, Pakistan, maybe not so much of Pakistan, but when you consider Iran and Russia at this summit as well, do you sense the emergence of a trade coalition to counterbalance the U.S.?
Well, that is essentially the bottom line because India and China, and indeed some of these other countries that you have named, including, Iran, they are tempering rivalries and inching closer at a time when U.S. trade diplomacy is straining. Whether this reflects a lasting strategic shift and whether it signals a real decline in U.S. global influence depends essentially on how Washington begins now to recalibrate its approach. But if things remain as they are right now, you can be rest assured that, these realignments will actually heighten rather than, receding.
Just looking at it generally, because we're seeing a lot of alignments, but before I even get to that question, I just wanted to ask, because President Trump's typical response would be more tariff. Is there a possibility now that Washington would take that same direction or will recalibrate its approach?
Well, I don't know if we can, conclusively say that the tariff war, the tariff that, Trump uses as a weapon, that is actually scaring, countries away. I mean, we may not quickly forget that he has also threatened the BRICS countries that, they are going to be punished for actually, choosing as sovereign nations to come together, form an economic bloc. Now, has that prevented, the BRIC countries from actually forging further? Certainly not. So, no. Trump, United States under Trump, would have to find other ways of, winning back friends and maybe some foes other than you know, the tariff factors, because so far it hasn't proven to be effective in getting you know, nations to their side.
And just because you mentioned BRICS, you remember that at the last BRICS summit, Nigeria attended, and the Trump administration saw it as an alignment with the BRICS nation, and then slammed Nigeria with more tariffs. Does this realignment that we're seeing at the SCO offer Africa any sort of opportunity?
Well, it does offer Africa opportunity, you know, and not just Africa, the global South, you know, in general, predominantly, you know, dominated by, you know, countries dominated by BRICS. This realignment is an opportunity. If we negotiate strategically as Africa Global South, we can benefit from both blocs without becoming pounds. That is essentially, you know, what this means, because like I mentioned earlier, Trump may, you know, bring in more tariff. What we have seen is that he's actually sending people away, you know, from the United States and forming more realignment. And like I mentioned earlier, this will continue as long as America does not recalibrate its foreign policy. I mean, using tariff as a tool.
All right, we'll see how this plays out. A very significant moment in history. Thank you so much for your time, as always. Global Affairs Analyst Collins Nweke. Pleasure to have you on.
Always my pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.